Hey everyone, thanks for joining. Today I'm speaking with Tyler Waterbury. I became aware of Tyler because he started a crowdfunding campaign called Crowdfunding for Courage on Campus, and I was kind of interested in it. I'll leave a link in the description, but I just want to get him on, start talking about it, see what it's about, and see why he thought of it up. Hey Tyler, thanks for coming on.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, so okay, I think it was James Lindsay who tweeted this your thing out. I saw it, and then I saw the video you did. And so, hey, I think it's a cool idea. I think I really like it. But like, what led you to do this?
Well, the first thing that probably got this issue on my radar was for a lot of people the Evergreen scandal, everything going on with Brett Weinstein, and that triggered me. Something is deeply, deeply wrong. So then, just kind of the standard route that everybody else took, seeing YouTube videos, seeing the discussions going around this subject, and simultaneously watching the YouTube videos with, intellectual dark web and everybody and getting a lot of really quality knowledge and discussion there. And then simultaneously you can see the news and just see it getting increasingly deranged. So that dichotomy was a big deal.
Yeah. Okay. So like, so you weren't on campus or anything like that. You just saw it like as an outsider looking in, and saying this is not, like it's not normal.
Yeah.
It's just like, yeah, and that was the same for me. Like, I didn't know anything about this because I was overseas, and I come back in 2014, and I'm like, what the hell's going on, right? So, yeah, it was exactly the same kind of thing. Like, I have no idea, and then you get hit in the face with it. But like the crowdfunding thing, like, so you're planning to donate to one person who like you feel is doing something good to like stand up on campuses, right? Um, like, is there gonna be like, how are you gonna decide that, or like, what exactly are you looking for? I'm just curious about that.
Yeah, so the genesis of the idea was actually watching a Brett Weinstein video. I believe it's called "How the Magic Trick is Done." But he ended his speech saying that you need people who stand up. They're going to pay a price because those who incentivize bad policy weren't sure that they do. But if you can engineer a mechanism that causes them to feel there's some other kind of security, they will stand up. So that stuck with me, and I just kept racking my mind for how that mechanism could be done. And the reason why people don't speak up is obvious. There's no upside. Your friends probably won't stand by you, and because there's no upside for them. So just the cost benefit structure of it, I wanted to figure out some way to lessen the damage or at least set an example for other people to kind of break that psychological hold on it. But to answer it more specifically, how it's decided, um, the uh, so over the course of the month, and it's kind of just started to get going. Um, the There will be a throughout the month. I'll be sharing stories throughout, which goes into all of our Twitter feeds of controversies on campus, people getting in trouble for their research, and as those kind of come into the mix, I'll put them up just so people are aware that they're going on, and then at the end of the month. And again, this is kind of experimental, so there's might be some growing pains going on, but we think we're heading in the right direction. So the idea is at the first week of March, post a poll on Twitter asking everybody who's following so far who set the best example for moral courage going against the grain in the face of this insanity on campus. So whoever wins that vote, as of now, I'll be giving however much money is raised by that time to that person.
All right. So that's yeah, because I mean, like, I was just wondering like how you're gonna, because obviously no one person can keep track of all of that stuff, and then and then like how to decide all that. But okay, so I mean, I know you're not like academia, neither am I. But like you said, it was the evergreen thing. But like looking back, do you see things that like you look back now and go, okay, you know what, that was maybe a warning sign. Didn't really pay attention because it didn't seem that important, or like how did like for myself, I just consider like I use the description of me jumping into a like the frog being thrown in a pot of boiling water, right? Because I wasn't here, and then I come back, and all of a sudden, what the hell's going on? Like for
A
you,
ton of bricks.
Yeah. Pardon?
Yeah, so yeah, like a ton of bricks just
Yeah.
all at once.
Yeah, and like for you, was it the same thing, or like did you start noticing like this stuff escalating, and then like the evergreen thing happened, or was that just like a slap in the face to you?
Yeah, no, I saw there are things that I mentally took note of, like this is strange, this is strange. I remember seeing, like right after the election, one image that stuck out was the image of the woman in the hijab and is covered in American stripes and stars. That one, it was pretty, yeah, that,
Yeah.
so that those, what they think that they were doing, I'm like, that is not, there are too many things clashing at once. So that was pretty big. A lot of things seem big in hindsight. Obviously, Sam Harris's famous Ben Affleck thing that bugged me at the time, but I didn't think that it was gonna, blow up in general. But yeah, so then the tipping point came in the past couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, like for me, it was just seeing like I would come back and I didn't know what was going on again. Like it's like what the hell happened, but it was it was like the thing in Mizzou. There was that professor calling for. She was literally saying, "Let's get some muscle and get this guy out of here." It was a student journalist covering the protest. There was a thing at Yale, Oberlin College. There was a whole bunch of crap going on there. I'd have to go back and Evergreen, Sarah Lawrence, Middlebury with Charles Murray. It was just continuously like, I mean, Berkeley having to pay $650,000 because of Ben Shapiro. Like, come on. Like, he's not a threat. Like, say what you want about him, the guy's not a threat.
Exactly. There's a lot of things. But that actually might have been that was another jarring image where Ben Shapiro, doesn't matter what you think of him, in his yarmulke, and then a horde of people screaming, calling him a Nazi. That really helped break it through too.
And I mean, I don't know, like this stuff is weird because you can see it on the campuses, and it's just little incidences, and people are like, "Oh, that's just students." And if you're not really paying attention to it, like it's coming through the administration. It's there's actually a really good article written by Jeffrey Sachs recently. I mean, I agree with some of it, but it was talking about like the indoctrination of students, and it's not so much the indoctrination that's the issue. I think it's this stuff which is getting the people who are apt to be extreme, this stuff will make them extreme, and then the people who are kind of a little bit wishy-washy about it, it might tip more of them over too. And it's extremes on both sides. Like, I mean, like the asshats in Charlottesville is a direct response to this. And I'm not, and when I say that, people are like, oh, well, you can't blame, like, I'm not, it's the same thing. Like, I'm not blaming the social justice left for what the guys in Charlottesville did. Like, that's them. That's all on those people. But, if you're continuously told that you're the cause of all the ills in the world and that you're evil and racist, I don't know. Some people might just say, yeah, screw it. I am. And like from my standpoint is the race stuff. Like when I hear them saying like, oh, well, those are white ways of knowing, as if like science and reason and logic are beyond me. Like, so I mean, like coming from it, like, okay, I hate to bring the identity stuff into it, but like this stuff kind of forces you. But I mean, you're a young white guy. Like, I mean, you're hearing this all the time, and like, what do you and your friends think about this? I mean, like, you're in Rochester. I've been to New York quite a bit. Like I used to go like more to like Buffalo and stuff, but like I know that area around there a little bit, and it's just like, it's like, good work, like whatever, working class families. There was, like I was there in the 80s a lot. Like I said, what do your buddies think about that stuff?
It mostly is just annoying. It's just kind of people like look in the news and it's like, but that annoyingness, like depending if you're not a great person to start with and you don't really know the sources of the conversation or the sources of why you're feeling the way that you feel due to these conversations, and you just have kind of a slippery slope, and you're again maybe wired a certain way. It goes annoying, then irritated, then angry, then furious, and then, you know, that it could go south like that. I mean, most people are just kind of just annoyed in general. But going back to the Charlottesville thing, the lack of tolerance that we have as a nation, and I mean Canada, you know, as well, as a society towards them is exactly appropriate. There's no place for it. Get out of here. We don't like you. Put the tiki torches away, whatever. In an ideal way, like the types of mobs that we see all the time, you know, I mean, throwing urine and assaulting people and Antifa, it should be treated close to the same way. And the fact that this is going on a daily basis in multiple locations is insane.
Yeah, I mean, there's that. Like, again, say what you want. Like, I'm not a fan of, and I know people say he's not red pill technically, but like that whole like the online culture of the woke and the red pill, I think they're the exact same people. I think the mentality is the same. They're like, you know, that's my take on it. And like someone like Charlie Kirk, I can respect the fact that he kicked out those white supremacists. You know, I can applaud him for that, but I think he's just as divisive as, you know, like the Nick Fuentes and the, you know, go up like Richard Spencer types, whatever. That's what's going to give you Charlottesville, and that kind of mentality will get you Antifa, and that, you know, like people who are actually willing to go out and do damage and whatever. But the Charlie Kirks and the Candace Owens of the world, as far as I'm concerned, they're like James Lindsay and Helen Putclose and Peter Boghossian. They did the, you know, they called it the grievance studies. So I was joking around and saying, like, you know, it doesn't matter if you're right, left, like this mentality. I just like, you're all grievance witnesses, like, you know, like Jehovah's Witnesses, right? They're going around looking for grievance, and that's the mentality I see from, like I said, like and I don't want to, you know, just pick on those two, but like, you know, like that kind of mentality from that side is the exact same stuff as this SJW mentality of looking for offense everywhere, and it's like the divisiveness is coming from both sides, and I think it's like my take on this is this education system that's teaching this. It's, you know, it's supposed to be anti-racist and supposed to be inclusive and this and that, but it's creating more racial divisions. It's creating more, you know, it's creating more exclusions because it's pointing out where all the lines are between each group, and it's so like, I mean, I think this stuff has a direct. It's not indoctrinating maybe, but it's just creating clear divided lines and say, here, these are the lines.
Yeah.
You know, those are your enemies, and it's. I don't see any good coming out of it.
And I think the approach is, I mean, it's the old like saying that, like, you know, a Nazi like will come up and punch you in the face, like a communist will hug you and then take your wallet when you're not looking. So there's just a different approach. The guys with tiki torches, it's just a visible, we want no part of this. And then, you know, anti-racist and inclusive are nice labels, and then they turn out so people, you know, reasonable people out that those both seem like good things. Then anti-racist turns out to be everybody sitting down in a class and getting berated for, you know, certain things, or maybe an anti-bias thing that, or unconscious bias where, I mean, what happens is people end up more resentful than they went in at. So it's just a counterproductive because people don't like being told that they're racist, and then taking a test on it. So yeah, it's all inflammatory.
Yeah, I mean, like, okay, I work for government, so I see some of this stuff, you know, coming through, like the HR and all the diversity stuff and all that. Like, I see it coming through in government. Like your day-to-day life. I mean, obviously, you know, it doesn't affect me when I go to the store. It doesn't affect me when I go hang out with my buddies or whatever. But like in your work world or anything like that, like do you see any of this stuff kind of creeping in, or is that still kind of like a, you know, away from it? No one really knows too much, or.
I feel the vast majority, again, and this is another reason why I started this. The vast majority of people are regular people, and it really bugs me about this psychological vice grip that this tiny minority has over people. Mm-hmm. So, like in HR, like we do, like, you know, sexual harassment, and they put on a video, and everybody rolls their eyes because, like, you know, this is required. And it's just, you know, like some video from like 1987. They were all made then. I don't know why they never made a new one. But so and it's just like, yes, don't grope women when you walk into a room, and be like, everybody knows. So then it's the same thing with racism stuff. If it's told like that, everybody is already on the same page, generally speaking, and this is just, it's unnecessarily provocative.
Yeah. Like, have you? I don't know how much you've looked into this stuff, like how much you've read about it, or like you've just been like watching the stuff on YouTube, or.
Or you mean like the origins to the ideology?
Well, not even so much the origins of the ideology. I mean, like that's a lot of. But I mean, like I just actually reading like if you like whatever, like take White Fragility by Robin DiAngelo, like reading that, or like actually going like listening to some of their talks and stuff. I don't mean like going to see them speak live, but if it's on YouTube or whatever, like I was just wondering like how much you've paid attention to some of the stuff they say, because it is pretty awful.
Yeah, it's terrible. And so I mean, being completely honest, like I haven't dove into the books myself, but I've seen them like filtered through. Like James Lindsay posts a lot of the stuff that he's reading, and exactly highlighted paragraphs like, no, this is what they say. And actually, the White Fragility, and I'm not, and this is again just kind of one passage that I saw. She was talking about how one of the things that triggered her to write it or something was she was walking to a picnic for like a coworker's party, and then there was the coworker's party was like mostly white people, and then there was also a group of black people, and then she had a brief moment in her head where she's like, oh, what if I have to go over to the black people, because she didn't know where her friend was, and then it was over. She just went to the party. So she just had a little internal thing of just being a human being, but she hadn't, and it just triggered this avalanche of, we need to fix everything, because I felt bad for a second.
Yeah. I mean, like that's just it. Like I felt like this, therefore racism, therefore everyone's racist. Like, okay, whatever. If you felt like that and you want to call yourself a racist, that's, whatever, fill your boots, right? Do whatever you want. But then to like project that onto everyone else, I mean, it's because I started reading a lot of this stuff. Like I wasn't, I didn't know what was going on. I was trying to figure it out. And same thing, I started watching videos, and I'm listening to like what people are saying, and then like they're talking about postmodernism. I'm like, this is not really postmodernism, because I read that in university in like the late 80s and the early 90s. I was reading some of that. And I'm like, it sounds similar, but it's not. And then I just really started reading this stuff. And if you read the original stuff that was written, so these were like all papers coming out of law schools, right? And so like especially the critical race theory, and then the intersectionality was Kimberly Crenshaw's Mapping the Margins, I think the paper was called. There's actually some interesting points, and there's good stuff brought up, and the race stuff, not so, like they're talking about important issues, but right away it veers into this, power structures and whatever. But the Kimberly Crenshaw thing, that like the intersectionality, that was actually like a really important point, and it made sense, and what she was talking about was good. But then right away again, I think it's in the last couple of paragraphs or last 3 paragraphs, something like that, where she explicitly says we have to take on this postmodernism idea of everything being a social construct. But then she was also talking about tearing everything down, including postmodernism. So you can see, like, right from the inception, they had some really good ideas, and they were talking about some important stuff, and all of these things are really complicated, and they turn it down to like, the answer is always the same. It's like, oh, that's sexism. Oh, that's racism. Oh, that's homophobia. Oh, that's transphobia. Like, I don't know, that there's no internal logic in it.
Yeah, and I also think, and you're right, like especially the intersectionality, there definitely is a point there. Like if you have a couple different things as far as different groups, you absolutely do have a different perspective. But all of the points get just ratcheted up to a million, and and therefore we have to change all of society. It's like, no, wait, can't we just at least talk a little bit more and figure some stuff out? I also think that just the hysteria of just racism, sexism, all the isms, all the phobias, insert here. But is like a lack of knowledge about biology. Like, this is just a theory that I've had about just, the way that human beings are wired and just kind of our basic code, which is not, it's not, wired for everybody getting along with each other. So, but I mean, it doesn't mean you have to, listen to that. You're wired like a caveman, but you don't have to behave like one. So when people don't know this stuff, I think they just panic because they don't know if they have a bad thought and they don't know where that bad thought comes from. They just panic and they think it must be a character defect with them, not knowing that sometimes it happens, and get moving past it as part of being a human being.
Yeah, but I'm also thinking like a lot of this stuff like now. I know Jonathan Haidt kind of breaks it off from those born like before and after 85, so basically the millennial cutoff mark, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then like the rise in anxiety and everything. He says, oh yeah, it starts with social media. And okay, I'm not going to argue with the guy. I don't have the expertise in that, but I think the social media completely exacerbates, all that anxiety, all that other stuff. But I think,
oh yeah,
teaching this to, I know in like a lot of the states, I think it's 16. I'd have to take a look at the number again, but I think it's 16 states it's being taught from K through 12, all this stuff. And then in some of the other states, and like it's a little bit longer, but I know in like high schools, it's been around for a few years. But so if you got kids going into college, you got, you're learning this in high school, like those are big transition years in your life, right? Like it's like your hormones are going crazy, everything else is going crazy, your brain's being formed, and you're dumped on like that, where you're told that, you're racist, you're sexist, you caused all these problems, or you're never going to get a leg up because the system is against you, everyone's out to get you. I mean, it's not a formula for healthy adults.
Yeah, not at all. And that's the other thing, where if I'm kind of wavering, thinking if I'm on the right side of this or wrong, and that it hurts the people that they claim to help the most. Like I remember, I can't remember the specifics, but there was a police shooting of a black man, and it was a controversy, or just, pick any one of them. But the news coverage, when it makes it seem that like society, they're literally arming people to go out and hunt you, when that's not the case. But I'm trying to put myself in that perspective. And if I was a young black man and I thought that that's the way that society was, I would be furious, and I might not comply with officers, because what chance, if I comply with an officer, what difference does it make? They're just out to get me anyway. So screw them. So that it hurts the people it claims to help, and I don't like that.
Yeah, and okay, things like that need to be brought to light, but again, and there shouldn't, like on the other end of it, right? Mm-hmm. Officers shouldn't get off lightly. Like there shouldn't be that, the what is it, like the I think call it like the thin blue line or whatever, like to keep, like they'll protect your own and stuff like that. Like you shouldn't have that. And the majority of police, as far okay, I don't know, I can't speak for the states, but at least in Canada, the majority of police aren't like the whole typical bad cop thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And again, I think it has to do with training, how they're taught. You got another issue in the States, and this is not even anything against like gun rights or anything like that, but there's far too many guns out there, man.
Yeah.
If I'm a cop and I'm going into a situation, like if it's an open carry state, that might be a little different in some ways, because you can see right away what's there. But if it if you're going into someone's home or you're making a traffic stop, you don't know if that person, so I think that makes an already tense situation even tenser.
Yeah.
But I don't know, like it's, again, like the way they react, like the outrage is right, but then it's, like I don't care if they have the protest right after something like that happens. It's but it can't be that, and you can't be at 11 all the time. Like when you have to step back and you need to talk about it,
Exactly.
the talking has to be done in a calm, rational manner.
Yeah, and the police like controversy. It's too messy to take one lesson and extrapolate it and apply it to the whole society. But just the general narrative that the deck is stacked against you no matter what, and it's just creating adversaries where there doesn't have to be. So yeah, it's. I mean, how many other people are having this same conversation right now? I mean, even if it's not over a podcast, but over dinner, just like something new happened at their job today. Somebody came in, they have new rules, and it doesn't make any sense, and whatever sort of training they have to get. And they go, this is insane. So I know that those conversations are going on over thousands and thousands and thousands of dinner tables privately. So this thing, even though it's very small and it just started right now, I just kind of wanted to at least trigger people to at least, I mean, if one person saw it and came up with a much better idea that was much bigger and much more effective, then that's great. Or at least start a conversation that we don't need to be held hostage and we don't need to be, made into more adversarial positions that we need to be when there's such a small amount of people causing it.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I'm afraid of, like, and I keep harping on this, is like the overcorrection. I don't want, okay, like when I hang out with my buddies, I'm just joking around, like I have no filters, right? I just let loose. Yeah. But I'm not gonna walk down the street and start saying the N-word and calling people, like fag or making fun of them for whatever reason. Like I'm not gonna do that. Like I just and like, but I don't want that. Like just to be edgy, like being edgy on Twitter or on YouTube or whatever. That's do whatever you want. It's a small thing, but if you're going out and doing that on the street just to be an asshole, like I'm just being edgy. I just do like I don't want that overreaction, that overcorrection. Then I mean, and that could go one step further, right? I mean, like that can lead to Charlottesville. That can lead to that guy driving through the Trump tent in Florida the other day, right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I don't want that. At the same time, like I don't want. I saw someone tweet this out, and it was about the winner of the Academy Awards, the movie Parasite. I've seen the movie. I don't know anything about it. I can't offer an opinion on that movie. But they said, oh, blah, blah, blah. I didn't think the movie that was great. It was all that great. I'm wondering if they won it, if it won because of like a diversity thing. Now, whether that's true or not, to bring it up, like like the day after, like they won. Do you want to tarnish that? And it's not the fault of the the directors or the producers. It's not their fault if the Academy did that. And in the same sense, I say that about like affirmative action. Like I don't want to get hired because I'm brown. I don't want to get a promotion because I'm brown. And then if I do a shitty job, someone who's an actual racist would say, yeah, I see, brown people can't do it. Don't hire them again. I'd rather get hired on my merits. And so like when you start doing this stuff, you actually really hurt the causes you're trying to support, and you hurt the people you're trying to support.
And especially with that, like I certainly don't know this for sure, but just intuitively, I feel like that wasn't the best picture. I don't think that it was just made to virtue signal, but the entire previous 3-hour presentation was just virtue signal after virtue signal. So then people could easily tack that on when it did win it on its own merits. So that confusion is, I guess, understandable. But again, so then again, the people that they want to help now, these 2 Korean directors, had people doubting that they deserved it when maybe they deserved it and more. But yeah, just giving people stuff. Like I thought, like a lot of places are, I think Goldman Sachs said that they wouldn't do any IPOs if for companies that don't have a woman on the board of directors. I can't know. I'm just imagining it, putting myself in their shoes. The woman who's placed in the board of directors is probably extremely accomplished. She's the number one woman that they picked to be there. but it has that asterisk next to it of, oh, this is mandatory or whatever. So that would make somebody who's very good at their job feel bad when that's not necessary, or maybe they don't feel bad. But I'm just kind of thinking it.
Yeah, but I mean, like, that's just it. Like, I don't want, I understand the need. Like there had been a need for something like affirmative action at one point, and you can monitor it. Like, okay, are you, if it's consistent, like, okay, let's say you have a business in a community that's 90% white, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're small town, not near a major center, but like there's not a lot of applicants that you can choose from. Like, is the Department of Labor or someone going to come down on you because you're not diverse enough, because you didn't meet? Oh well, the national average is 13%. Like, I'm pulling these numbers out of my ass, so I don't know if these are 13% black, 7% Hispanic. Yeah. Like, you don't have that in your workforce. You're being racist. Here's a fine. Like, I mean, you can't. You should. If you feel socially conscious and you get two applicants that are, almost equally qualified, but one fits some diversity score, and you're like, you know what? Let's give them. I want to have more diverse work staff, because different people thinking differently will give you better solutions for problems, right? So, I mean, you want to do that. Like, I applaud that. Go ahead and do it, but like, to force it and just go in and say, no, we have to have this many, X, and like that in itself, I find racist. Like, I find, like they did in Australia, they lowered the entrance exams for women at a couple of universities for engineering. In the UK, I think it was Oxford, or it might have been a bunch of schools that extended exam times by 15 minutes for women. And it's like, okay, and this is to be progressive, and this is to be, feminist. Like, how is that feminist? You're telling them they can't cut it without getting a leg up, like without getting some sort of, you're lesser. Like,
yeah, it's so, and I forgot. Yeah, it's even worse in Canada for you. I forgot. My condolences. But yeah, it's all of that. All of the implications that go with helping people out, like lowering. I think it's starting in New York City, or I know that they're definitely doing it in Seattle. They're just math is racist now. When the achievements aren't on the same level, and you just, I don't know. I think going into detail is even just kind of waste time. When you lower the standards and help somebody, the implication is saying that they're not as capable. Period. So you're right. It is insulting, and it's so stupid.
Yeah, no, but it is stupid. Like the thing is,
we had a more intellectual analysis for it, but yeah, it's stupid.
No, but like I said, if telling me that I'm not good enough to meet the regular standards, because, okay, sorry, you're not good enough to get into a STEM field because you're brown, and STEM is a white way of knowing, and then I'm progressive. I'm like, no, but you're telling me I'm dumb because I'm brown. Like, and you're calling yourself anti-racist. There's a friend of mine, Sarah Hayter. She started an organization called Ex-Muslims in North America, and she's from Pakistan, grew up in Texas, did a really long thread about intersectionality, and she talked about a bit about, not like went in depth in its origins, but what it got right, what it was talking about, what the importance of it when it first came out, and then how it actually hurts those people at those intersections that they're talking about, like how it actually hurts them. And then again, all these progressives, all these uber woke people were telling her that and they're anti-racist, right? They're telling her, you're talking white, you're sounding white, and it's like,
there's nothing. Yeah.
I mean, if David Duke said that to someone, or Trump said that to someone, or whatever, right? Like, people would go insane. But here they're telling a brown woman that she's sounding white, and that she shouldn't think white. I mean,
I can only imagine the amount of rage that must cause. Like, because watching it, just as a spectator, it's horrible. It's enraging just to watch. So I can only imagine telling. And it kind of, in their own way, if there was ever like a searing indictment of white people's character, it would be that. I mean, if we're gonna go to the white people are bad thing, if I were to make that exhibit A, they tell brown people to not act the way they want to because it's white. It's all upside down, man.
Or I mean, it goes back to the stupid phrase. I mean, like like I think it was. I think people stopped really using it in the 80s, but like they'd make jokes about it with like, oh, that's mighty whitey. Like I don't know if you've ever heard that or not. But like that's no, it's silly. Like the silliness of it, and but they take it so seriously, and like I worry because friends my age, so like 50s, like mid like 45 to 55, let's just say they'll post this stuff. Oh, whiteness. Or, I'm going to be an ally. Like, oh, whiteness is bad, and white privilege, and like a homeless white man still has privilege. It's like, what are you talking about? And they have no clue where it's coming from. They might have learned it at work, or I don't know, went to some meeting or something. I don't know, but like I don't know, like read an article on Vox or something. And it sounds good, and like, yeah, I want to be an ally, which to them means, okay, I want to be on your side. They don't realize that it's being an ally just doesn't mean supporting them. It means like stepping back, shutting up, giving up your place. Like there's a whole other stuff involved in it.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, even if most people aren't even trying to help, but it's just they kind of view it as it creeps in slowly. It's just, here's just another kind of irritating part, like a bureaucracy part of my day. I'll just whatever, as long as I get my break and get my coffee and bagel. Like but the sinister underbelly of everything. Like, I'm trying to think of the podcast that I was listening to that said this. They were just talking about just the explicit, like conflict as far as the phrasing goes for identity based articles, just all the headlines about demonizing white men and everything. Like it's, if you go back and if you replace it with the word Jew, it turns into Nazi propaganda. It's just saying these people have more than us, they took it, and it's just a divisive, bad thing. And same thing if you replaced it with like the word kulaks for Soviet Union propaganda. Just saying it's just placing the difficulties of a nation onto one group of people. And if you know historically what happens, then you know how bad it is. And again, I'm not thinking that I'm gonna die like within the next couple of years, but it's just not good. This direction, no matter where it ends, is the wrong direction to go.
Okay, but another thing too, like like you said, the overcorrection that can come from what's the United States, like 65% white, something like that. I'm not sure. I don't know.
60, 65, yeah.
Okay, so that's still the majority of the country. Do you really want, like, and this is not like about, okay, be nice and be, take shit, right? But at the same time, don't go antagonizing people purposely. But that's why I asked you how much you've been reading on this stuff and how much you actually kind of followed it. Because there's a thing called BIPOC, right? And QPOC. Like POC, person of color. So BIPOC was black and indigenous person of color. And so black people and indigenous people have been more oppressed than other people of color. So other people of color should step aside and make room for black and indigenous people first. And then QPOC is queer people of color, and that has like same kind of idea there. And then just recently, like when I say recently, maybe in like the last 2 or 3 months, I saw this online. I don't know how old this idea is. But the slaves that were brought over to the States, because the colonizers used them as labor and the slave labor enriched the colonizers, they helped the genocide of the indigenous people, so the natives in the States. Now, all this stuff is creating divisions between, black people, Latinos, Indians, Native Americans. Like it's creating these divisions. You're already small communities. You're already fragmented. Altogether, you're 35 to 40% of the country. Do you want to and they're causing those divides. Like they're going to look at it. Because again, when you read that stuff, the first thing it says is you have to work on yourself. You have to fix the institution that you're in before that institution can go out and fix the world, right? That's why if you look at what happened at Evergreen, they tried to fix what they saw as their problems before they can fix any greater problems, right? So it tore itself apart. Washington State just has an Office of Diversity now, I think, or they just announced it. And one of the first things they're going to do is look at how the government is not diverse enough.
Oh yeah, I saw that. That's not going to be good.
Yeah. Well, okay. Canada has got they renamed the Ministry of Multiculturalism to the Ministry of Diversity, Inclusion, and Youth. And they said they're going to set up a secretariat. I don't know much more beyond that. And in the mandate letter that Trudeau wrote to every single minister, so every government department, like our cabinet, right? In the letter, it says, follow the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms, which is great, even though our charter is, as far as I'm concerned, really weak. But then it also says all policies should be decided using gender-based analysis plus, which is intersectionality. So all policies will be decided through that. So Ministry of Fisheries is making a fishing policy, like a policy for fisheries, and they have to make sure it's gender balanced.
It's just becoming more and more explicit. I mean, I remember before I was really into looking into this. But, kind of that first Jordan Peterson controversy about the pronouns. And he talks about the Ontario Human Rights Commission. Do I have that right?
Yeah.
So, and then they had tribunals for people. Well, it's never a good sign when there are tribunals. Tribunals are rarely.
Okay, but here's the thing. The human rights tribunals, that's the International Human Rights Court, the war crimes tribunals, just a legal word. We've had these for a long time in Canada, and I mean, you guys have. I mean, there's human rights lawyers and stuff in the States as well. There are these things you can call them. The problem was, I believe it was Mark Stein was one of the first people who the case was thrown out, because up until that point, they had a 99 or 100% conviction record, the federal one. So yeah, I mean, in Ontario, also what they did was. You have the Human Rights Tribunal. You have a few of these other tribunals like this, because they're extra. If you get fined in one of those, if you get found guilty, you have to go to a legal court, and then the legal court has to uphold the fine and all that. It's not it's the verdict's reached, you're found guilty, and I don't think it's legally binding until a criminal court or through the justice system it gets. The judge approves it, then you have to pay that fine. So, but it's so they've been around for a while. But the ones in Ontario, they collected them all together. They still act independently, but collectively they're known as the Social Justice Tribunals. They actually call them that.
I think just Social Justice Tribunals. All right, we'll roll with that.
Yeah, but it's so. I mean, the tribunals thing, they've been around for a while. It's not like something new that just popped up. It's the bent they're taking is a little too, social justice-y. Jessica Yaniv, yeah. I'm sure you follow that thing. The wax my balls. If you read the actual case, and people are like, oh, it's great. See, sanity won out. I'm like, yes, but if you actually read the decision wasn't so sane. The decision was. The majority of the reason they ruled against Yaniv was because Yaniv was not a convincing witness and was obviously trying to it was plain to see that it was being done for gain. So that's why it was thrown out. I mean, they had to do this pretzeling of their logic, bring in an expert to explain that a Brazilian wax, while though it's done on a vagina and it's what is it? I kind of like we have a definition in the BC Human Rights Tribunal like system right now, and I guess it's going in greater Canadian jurisprudence or whatever. We have a definition of what a Brazilian wax is. It's like, it's no, because before it was just done to female genitalia, now it's done to, like a biological vulva or something like it's ridiculous, man. And so
Yeah. Don't you think how many people are involved in that court case? Like what it was like for them that day? They woke like her lawyer. Whatever I said. Like he woke up. I have to actually say this, and then the expert they brought in to describe Brazilian waxes, and I'm probably pointing to like some PowerPoint presentation. Like, and they're all just got to be in a room. Like, what is going on? So, and some spark has got to get led where somebody says, I can't do this anymore, man. I'm done.
I mean, it's okay. And again, this is going to hurt people, right? It's going to, I don't want, like just because of being online stuff, I met a couple of people like who are trans and, like we talk and everything. Like, I don't want them hurt. I don't want someone.
No, not at all.
I don't want, like, okay, just because the news just came out today that he's being indicted. Like, I don't want a situation where something that, like the whole fake thing Smollett did. Like, I don't want that to happen, right? I don't want something, like, I know nothing happened to him, and I'm not trying to say, like, but, no sane, rational person wants those things, right? But, like, they're pushing sane, rational people. I'm not saying they're pushing them to get violent. I'm not saying, but they're pushing them to care less about that stuff. Like.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
No, it's fine. Go ahead.
People naturally have empathy for people in difficult situations, but when you try to coerce empathy out of people from the top down, and like you said, it's not as straightforward as it's pushing good people to become bad. But at the end of the day, it's a matter of statistics. If you piss off 10 million people in the same way, there's going to be some amount of them that defect to, I'm not doing this anymore. And especially, I definitely, I hope every trans person leads a happy life and is certainly not harmed. Nobody deserves that. But again, with the manner in which social justice goes about its business, the way that community is represented, especially on Twitter, is not a good look, I'll say. And it's really bad I feel bad about it, but yeah, it's a difficult thing, which I understand why most people don't have the time nor the inclination to look into it.
Yeah, I mean, okay, it's not just on Twitter anymore, though. Like, that's the thing. Like, there was I think it was Oxford, again, it was a female professor, and she was speaking out about, self-IDing in prison and, like, all the nonsense is going out now with sports, and she now has to have armed security guards to take her to class. And, like,
I heard about that.
This is the tolerant left, right? Like, this is love, not hate. Like, like, seriously.
Yeah, I mean, something that's the thing. For as much as I know, I spoke a little bit on the idea at the beginning. Something has to be done. And everybody knows this, and everybody's, it's what's that famous case where a lot of people were watching, like the Kitty Genovese thing, the diffusion of responsibility. Like when 40 people saw a woman getting stabbed outside and nobody helped because they thought that one of the other 39 would. Yeah. It's the same thing, just on a scale of hundreds of millions of people. They're just like, well, statistically speaking, somebody will solve this. It's enough. But I think everybody's kind of in the same boat, just kind of waiting for somebody to do it. But there's not anybody else. It's just you, kind of. In a way.
Just like I mean, okay. I don't know if you follow her. Don't know much about her, but on her CLE, I mean, she said that right after the Charlie Hebdo thing. It was like, spread the risk.
Yeah.
Like, everyone should just be drawing those pictures. Everyone should be sharing them. Like, just spread the risk. And it's okay. Again, I just know this from, like, speaking to some professors and things like that. And like, these departments, like, it's more the administration side of it than the teacher side of it. right? And even the students. This is a very small percentage of students on campus. They're loud, they're obnoxious, and they're annoying.
Yeah.
But this is being driven more through administration than it is through faculty. It's being, and okay, like the cost of college. Like I don't know, like I think Harvard Law School. I can't remember who was looking at it the other day. It was like $65,000 a year. Now, that's insane. It's 65 grand a year. Like that's a good salary in the States. Like I mean, it's a decent salary in Canada too. But like we get taxed to hell. But like if you got rid of, I think they should like go in there and just get rid of all those administrators. Like not all of them. Obviously, you need counselors and student advisors. You need things like that. But like all these diversity offices and all these all this bloat that well this office creates another office and that creates another office and it's like something needs to be done.
So it's increasing, making you pay more so we can destroy the institution from within. It's the opposite of an investment. It's just, additional costs for worse product and potentially, dangerous ideas like one that's implemented on a mass scale. It's, it's clown world, man.
Yeah. Look, I don't want to take too much of your time. I just if you want to talk, let people know where they can find it. If you if you're like I said, if you're looking for something specific that people are doing, or where people can if people hear things, if they want to they can nominate someone or something like that, where they can send all that stuff, and I'll post all the links in the bottom in the description.
So you can go to the Twitter account at Funding Courage, and the GoFundMe page directly. It lays out how it works if you want to find the details of it. You can just Google crowdfunding courage on campus. That's the GoFundMe. But if you want to see the Twitter or nominate somebody, feel free to DM me or email me at crowdfundingcourage@gmail.com. So Twitter, Funding Courage, email crowdfunding, and GoFundMe, crowdfunding courage on campus. Okay, I was worried. I want to get all of there.
No problem. Like I said, I'll put all those links. Now, you said, in March you're going to do the first. So you're planning to keep this going and do it a monthly thing, or how do you want to or as long as it has steam, or
I would ideally like to do it as a monthly thing. Again, the bigger it gets, the more effective it gets. I was hoping it would kind of snowball as if we get more big names attached to it. I know this is kind of towards the end, so I'll just say it real quick. But hypothetically, I mean, if 10% of professors paid $10 a month to not even this, just a fund to bail, whoever gets in hot water that month out, I mean, it's over $1 million. So the amount, a little bit given by a lot of money, or given by a lot of people, can go a long way. Hopefully it'll be effective.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on. Thanks for, talking about this and and thanks for starting it. I think it's a good idea. And I'll post all the links and I'll let you know when this is out. And thanks everyone for listening.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I appreciate your support and appreciate your time.